Hi, I'm Amy Edwards. I'm the director at Elevated Charter School. This is some general info about our school. You can find more information on our website. This information is for all grades K through 12. There is another video about 20 minutes long that gives more details about grades 7 through 12, really focusing on high school. So if you have a student in those grades, I suggest also watching that video. At Elevated, we are partnering with parents for learning at home and on the go. Our mission that drives all of our choices and what we do for students and how we support families is that we want to help students develop initiative, creativity, help them collaborate with each other and with their teachers so that learning is collaborative, develop critical thinking. We want to create lifelong learners and we want to give them tools to move into college, career, citizenship, just life after school. Our core beliefs really define who we are. For any school, as you are making a choice, I would always advise you as the parent to find out what that school's leadership's core beliefs are, because that's what will drive how and what they teach. At Elevated, we believe that learning should connect to real life and personal interests, that it should be interactive and collaborative. It should not just live in a textbook. We do this by providing inquiry-based, so interest-led and project-based learning activities. Our teachers provide choices in how students learn content and skills, and then they also provide choices in how students demonstrate mastery. We believe that the teacher's role is to create a learning environment that invites growth. So it's not the teacher's role to lecture on and on in class. It's to create that learning environment that really facilitates interactive learning. And we do that by partnering with parents so that we get to know your students and your family, and we understand how to meet the individual needs of the students in our school. We believe that everyone can learn, and we do this through personalized competency-based learning. We start your student at the skills level they are, and we help them move forward and learn. And we believe that learning is lifelong. So our classes aren't just about memorizing content and moving on and forgetting it later. Throughout all of our classes, our teachers are teaching strategies for how to learn that can be applied to other classes and just to life in general. We want to move students as they get older into more and more ownership of their education. We want to empower them to self-educate. So when they are interested in something, they have the tools to go and learn about it. They don't have to wait on a teacher or an expert to teach it to them. This shows a little bit of the differences between Elevated and your traditional district school. So at Elevated, our classes meet 1 to 2 times per week. It depends on the subject and it depends on the grade level. The classes meet for most of them meet for 60 minutes. Some of our classes at the 7th through 12th grade level meet for 90 minutes. And students can work on different subjects and topics on each day. So if your student is just really diving into a science experiment or really interested in exploring a topic that they find really interesting, they can do that all day long, and that is just fine. In a traditional district school, classes meet every school day, and students are expected to work on every subject every day. And I think that creates a little bit of disconnect between the learning when they have to stop and start a lot. So we encourage a little bit more bursts of learning guided by interest. At Elevated, our teachers teach one subject for multiple levels. I know that's how teachers teach at the high school level, but at Elevated, all of our teachers from kindergarten on up, they focus on one subject and teach multiple levels of that subject. This does a few things. It allows our teachers to truly understand the progression of skills as students move through the different classes. So, as a parent, if you're not sure where your student should be placed, you can schedule a Zoom meeting with one of our class teachers, and they can give you a pretty confident answer about how the classes are different and what your student will experience in each of the different levels. In Traditional elementary schools, teachers are required to teach 3 to 5 subjects, which can cause typically teachers excel at a couple subjects and don't necessarily excel at the other subjects. Our teachers focus on one subject so they can really dive deep, make that subject really fun and engaging for the students. Elevated has mixed age classes that are organized by skill levels. In traditional district schools, students are grouped by grade level, regardless of their skills level. So all of our classes have mixed ages, so no student's going to feel like it's weird if there's somebody who's not the same age as them. This also allows our teachers to focus in a little on a smaller range of skills in each class because the students are pretty close together. Nobody's absolutely at the exact same level, but they're pretty close together. Um, and it helps us focus on progress rather than constantly pushing them to work at a level that is much too high for them at that time. At Elevated, we give them choices in learning content and practicing skills. So our teachers, each week, they will post choices in how a student can practice and learn the concepts for that week. That can be some workbook pages, or they can choose to create a video, or they can choose to work in IXL, or they can choose to play a game. Each of the teachers has different choices. They can do a drawing, they can go and do a nature walk, exploration, and make a video about that. All the teachers have different choices. The student just needs to choose one or two of those options in order to practice the skills and content needed for that week. In a traditional classroom, the teacher assigns specific learning activities for all students, and all students complete the same activities. Our teachers also provide choices in how students can demonstrate their understanding at the end of each unit. Each unit is about 6 school weeks long. Students complete what's called a key assignment. Teachers provide choices in the key assignment. They are project based. Usually, they are a variety of learning styles. So, there might be one that is paper and pencil writing based. There may be one that is a hands on project, something the student can build. There might be one that's digital. They can make slides or videos. I've had some students make some really cool things in Minecraft as their key assignment in a blank server. Some students do something artistic to demonstrate their understanding. There's a lot of choices in how they demonstrate that. At Elevated, we focus on progress. In a traditional classroom, they focus at working at grade level. Yes, we want to get your student to grade level, maybe even above grade level if they're ready for that. But and we're constantly assessing that to see are they moving toward that point. But we are focusing on their progress and encouraging them for making progress. Even if the progress is a little slow, that's okay. That just helps us know how we need to help them. At Elevated, students have the option to do classes live or offline. They have the option to use alternative curriculum and outside classes. In a traditional school, all the students use the same school chosen curriculum. They do the same activities. They take the same classes. At Elevated, you have 2 layers of teacher support, and this is available to parents and students at various levels based on what you need. Some of our parents use a lot of our teacher support. Some of our parents are very independent and just check in every now and then. We're here to support you at the level you need. We have education coordinators. These are licensed teachers. They work with all the students within the same household. So if you have 3 students enrolled in Elevated, even if they're in different grades, your education coordinator would work with all of them. This way, they can get to know your whole family. You can build a relationship of trust because this person becomes your stop for questions and concerns. If you need to bring something up and you're not quite sure how to ask it, or you have a concern, you can go to your education coordinator. That education coordinator will find the answer for you or bring it to whoever needs to hear it so we can come up with a solution or address a concern. They partner with parents and students to create personalized learning plans. This includes if you're going to take our classes live or offline, if you're going to do alternative curriculum, take an outside class, they just piece it all together to make sure that you have everything that you need. If you don't want to use the curriculum we're using or take our classes, they can approve or recommend alternative curriculum. If you already have a curriculum that you love, then they'll take a look at it and they'll just let you know if there's any supplementation that needs to happen to cover all the competencies. Typically, the curriculums are just fine as is. If you don't want to use ours, but you don't have one you already love, they can recommend based on your child's learning style and what kind of activities they like to do. They can customize learning if you are traveling. One of the things that I love is, you're always welcome to learn on the go and stay with everything with our classes, but we can also do some swapping out. So if you're going to go on vacation for 2 weeks, we can excuse the social studies assignments for 2 weeks while you're gone. And in place of those, have your student do something fun that they learn about at wherever place you're traveling, something about the geography or the history or the culture, so that your student is incorporating learning into the real world and their life. They're still building those historical thinking skills, those geography skills, same thing, but we're going to alter the content to connect for your student. And our education coordinators attend in-person Monday Fun Days, so you can meet them in person. Your kids can get to know them in person. They run some really fun classes and just are there to get to know everybody and make a personal connection. In addition to your education coordinator, we have class teachers. If you are taking one of our live or offline classes, these teachers oversee those. But even if you're using alternative curriculum, our class teachers are available to you. If you decide you're going to use a math curriculum of your own rather than our class, and you hit a concept that your student is really struggling with, you've tried to explain it and it's really not sinking in, you can make an appointment with one of our teachers who focuses on math and meet by Zoom with your student and have that teacher explain it, maybe use some different examples, different um, manipulatives to show them. And sometimes that is all you need to kind of get over that hurdle. And then you can go back to progressing with your alternative curriculum. Our class teachers provide choices in assignments and skills and content learning and are just great at personalizing learning. We really, really want to partner with parents. I'm emphasizing this because I think this makes our program very unique. There are programs out there that provide funding for parents who have students at home and then are pretty hands-off. You receive the funds and then you have to go out and find everything yourself and teach everything yourself. And we're not that kind of program. We want to be involved in your students' learning. We are happy to support you in either having them take our classes or do some things on your own. But we definitely want to hear about it. We want to encourage them. We want to be another voice encouraging them. Sometimes we're another voice encouraging you as the parent because parents worry about doing enough all the time and they're always doing enough. And so it's nice to hear from somebody else that that is okay. Or if you feel like you need some help, you're just stuck about a learning activity, something that would be fun, we're here to help you find some good resources. So on our end, we provide a laptop for our students. We provide live and offline classes taught by our teachers, and then teacher support outside of class meetings, also teacher support for students using alternative curriculum. We have in-person elective classes and vendor workshops. That's what happens on our Monday Fun Day. We also have field trips on some Mondays. We have intervention support if your student is struggling academically. We have short little 20-minute fun game-based classes that students do, and often they just do them for a short time. It fills some learning gaps, and then they graduate right out of there. We can also provide digital intervention to help your student if they're just stuck on a specific concept or they just have a gap in their learning. We also have fantastic SPED teachers, very supportive, wonderful teachers who can support students who have an IEP for learning. We have virtual clubs that meet by Zoom. They're fun. We have online resources. Many of them are available just at no cost to your learning budget. And the other ones that aren't are greatly discounted. For example, we have access to Prodigy. We can get the premium math and reading subscription for only $30. So we extend that to our parents. And then finally, we have that personalized learning budget. So all schools, all public schools, receive funding for your student. Traditional district schools create a budget that specifies exactly what that funding will be spent on. They choose the same textbooks for every student, the same curriculum, the same materials. We receive funding too. For some of that funding, we do decide what all students are receiving because of our model and our mission. So we use that funding to provide the laptop, to provide teachers as a resource, both teaching classes and outside of class, to provide field trips, to provide our intervention and sped support, all the things you see listed. But we hold part of that as your personalized budget so that we can personalize your child's learning. So if you decide to take an elevated math class, then we would use part of your budget for the curriculum and materials that are used in that class. But if you decide, no, we're going to use this other curriculum or we're going to take this vendor class, then we wouldn't deduct the materials for our in-house class. We would direct those funds to pay for the outside class or the alternative curriculum. So it really allows you to personalize the learning. Personalized learning budget can also help with extracurricular activities, sports, elective classes that we don't offer. There are a lot of vendors. We partner with a lot of vendors, and our family handbook lists many of them. So if you are interested in learning music or a sport or art, we have a lot of vendors. Or you can bring a vendor to us and we will work with them. On your side, what do we need on the parent side? We need you to provide as best you can a learning environment so that students can pay attention during live classes. So since they're not in a school with us, they're at home or uh, on the go. We need your help in providing an environment that's conducive to them learning. We highly recommend headphones. You can use your personalized learning budget for headphones. We have headphones that we can provide that are very inexpensive. They're not very cute or fancy like the ones that our students buy with their funds, but they will get the job done. And that just helps students focus. Our classes are very interactive and the students are supposed to participate. And so it's nice if they have a place they can do that that's not too noisy or distracting. We ask that you help your students get online when it's time for class or just remind them it's time for class. And often you'll do this at the beginning of the school year and then you won't need to keep doing it. We ask parents to check Schoology. That is where the teachers are putting all the assignments, but even more importantly, that is where the teachers are putting the week by week guide to what materials is your student going to need for that day's class. Since our classes are hands-on and interactive, we want your student to have all the pieces they're going to need so they can participate. So if you can check Schoology and make sure they have those out for class, and then check for assignments so students don't feel anxious. And the teachers post assignments well ahead of time so nobody is surprised. And so you can help them manage that. Even our older students need help managing that. So we ask the parents to do that. We can support you in that. Your education coordinator sometimes can meet with students and do check-ins to make sure the students understand what they need to get done. So if you need that help, if you're a working parent or your student would just respond well to the education coordinator doing that, just let us know. We've done that with some families. If you have any questions or concerns, please talk to your education coordinator or your class teacher. It makes me really sad when I hear months later about a parent who is upset and it's something that we could have resolved right when it happened. It's usually a misunderstanding about what resources or what flexibility is available. So please let them know if there's any questions or concerns. Please communicate with us. If we hear nothing, we tend to assume all is going well. So let us know if it's not so that we can fix it. We ask that you monitor your students' online usage for their safety. Our Chromebooks come with a lot of filters. We can also install Bark, which notifies parents if students do any searches or access anything that would be considered dangerous for them. But even with all those filters, we have some very creative, genius little students who can get around them. We've had it happen. So please monitor their online usage and just keep an eye on what they're accessing. And if you have any concerns at all, please let us know. We can monitor those Chromebooks remotely if needed to help you with that monitoring. We ask that parents transport their kids to and from in-person activities. We don't provide transportation. We do have a parent Facebook group that you can connect with other parents in your area, and we have permission forms that you can give another parent permission to transport your child to help each other out with that. And we need you to help us document learner validated attendance. We don't report attendance based on whether or not your student shows up for their live class. Even if a student misses a live class, they can watch the video, they can still do the assignments and access everything. So, and as long as they do that, that is fine. We use what the state calls learner validated attendance, which means your student is engaging in learning. We verify this by you and your student meeting with the education coordinator at the end of each unit, which is typically every 6 school weeks. So it's a little longer in the winter when we have all those breaks. And they just talk about what your student has been learning, and the education coordinator really encourages them and validates what they've been learning. We also need learning samples. You can get really creative. I love creative learning samples. If you are using a workbook and it's easy to just scan one page in your workbook, that's fine. But you can also submit videos as learning samples. You can submit photos. If you went to the zoo, send us some photos with an explanation of what your child learned, what was their favorite thing. There's lots of ways for us to collect learning samples. If your student is taking one of our live or offline classes, you don't need to provide a learning sample in addition. The education coordinator can pull an assignment right from that class. So we do really want to help your student. I talked about how we focus on progress, whereas traditional schools focus on working at grade level. We want to get your child to grade level. And often when they're struggling, it's because there are gaps. And so we start at the student's current level because simply pushing them into their grade level course, if they have significant learning gaps, that erodes their confidence. It makes them hate learning. And it can actually create even bigger gaps. So we start at their current level. We fill the gaps. We have many ways to do that. We have our intervention classes. We have game-based resources we can use. Or we can just focus on progress. If they start at a level that's below grade level, they can catch up. They're not always going to be on that pacing, because as they get older, they do learn faster. And so we can help them with that. And the whole time that we are filling these gaps and we are helping them get to where we want them to be academically, our priority is building their confidence and building their love of learning. Those are the keys to future learning. We can always fill academic gaps, but if a student lacks confidence in their ability to learn, or if they hate learning, then they're not going to learn from anybody. So that is our priority the whole time we are trying to help them bridge any gaps. All right, personalized learning budget. What can you use it for? So, one of the things that I always emphasize is that this is public education funding. So, there are some restrictions placed upon us from the state as to how this funding can be used. And how it can be dispersed. So there are some limitations. They're outlined in detail in the family handbook so that you know. We can pay vendors directly. We can order products directly and have them shipped to you. We can also reimburse parents as long as we have all the documentation that we need. Your personalized learning budget can be used for elevated class materials and curriculum, alternative curriculum. You can use it for tickets and passes to museums, aquariums, zoos, historical sites. I think so many of our students have passes to Thanksgiving Point, which has so many different educational things. Science centers, absolutely love the Clark Science Center up in Salt Lake City, but there are other ones all around too. You can use your personalized learning budget for extracurriculars. We think learning is everywhere and lifelong. So the skills that students build in participating in extracurriculars and hobbies and sports, that all contributes to their learning. You can use it for school supplies, arts and crafts supplies. You can also use it for paper and printer ink because sometimes when you're learning at home, you're having to print things out. So we want to help support that. If you find vendor classes you want to take, or you see our list of vendor classes in our family handbook, you can use funds for that. A lot of our families use them for subscriptions like Crunch Labs or Hack Packs for older kids, little passports, Kiwi crates. If you have young learners, a lot of times social studies can just be one of these subscriptions, or science can be one of these subscriptions. It comes once a month. So there are lots of different ways we can personalize education using public funding. Our elevated classes, um, you have a choice of either live online or offline. Both are guided by a teacher. Typically, the teacher who teaches the live class is also posting everything on the offline class. 1 to 3 hours a week online live, depending on the grade level and the subject. And then they also post instructional videos, learning resources, and the assignments. All the materials for these we ship to your house. So we know what class you're in, and your education coordinator will go over the materials. If you are a returning student and you already have the math manipulatives, then you don't need to use your budget to buy those again. So we figure that out and we ship it to your house so you don't have to run around trying to find it. On Monday, we meet in person. This year, our locations are in St. George, Springville, Eagle Mountain, Sandy, Ogden, Logan, and Vernal. Each year, we take a look at our enrollment demographics. So, in our first year, we were in 6 locations. And then this year, we added 2 more locations because we grew in certain places. So, if we grow again, we will add another location. We have been looking at adding a location in American Fork for some of our families, but it will depend. Check back with me in the summer, and I'll have a better idea of where our enrollment is falling. Our elevated teachers and education coordinators teach some fun classes. We also have thematic parties. We have a friendship party around Valentine's Day. We have a winter holiday party right before we go on break. So we have things like that so that your students can have fun with that. And sometimes we bring in vendors. We've brought in Snapology. We brought in Hawkwatch, which was very popular. And they come in. It gives you a little sneak peek into these vendors to see if it's something that maybe your child would want to go do, and you can decide if you want to spend some of your budget on that. We schedule field trips throughout Utah. So when it's a field trip day, there are no classes, but there are usually 4 or 5 field trips so that there's one in different areas of Utah, so no one has to travel too far. All of the field trips are open to all families. So if you are willing to drive 3 hours to go to the aquarium in Draper, you can sign up for the aquarium. That's a really popular one. I think we had 150 kids this year when we went. We go to the Shakespeare Film Fest, not Film Festival, the Shakespeare Theater Festival down in Cedar City, and we have people drive a distance for that. But usually people stay near their home, and we try to schedule several different ones in different areas so that you can attend one that's kind of close to you. Our Mondays are drop off or stay and play. So we staff them with enough staff to supervise your kids and keep them safe. You cannot drop off siblings who are not enrolled, but if you want to stay and you have younger siblings, they can stay too. We just need a parent to stay with them. If anyone except a parent is going to pick up your child or give them a ride home, make sure you get a form from us, or we may not let them go home with them. So we have discovered a little bit of who we are a great fit for. So I like to share this. We have worked very well with parents who want a teacher partner, and that's at a bunch of different levels. Some parents want a teacher to be very involved and really help them. Some parents just want that teacher kind of as a safety net, to ask questions of or to support them as needed. So we customize that level based on what you need. We're a great fit for families who want to learn together. We rotate our topics in science and social studies for K through eighth grade. And we do that because, 2 years ago, all grade levels, but at different levels, studied biology. So even though they were learning slightly different things, they could still all be talking about biology at the dinner table. This year, they all did physics, and next year, all those levels will do chemistry. Social studies, we did world history 2 years ago. We did US history this year, and this upcoming year, our classes will focus on Utah State history. So if you have three different students in grades K through 8, they can all be learning Utah history at the right level for them. And then if you guys want to go visit some historical sites, you're all learning similar content. And so we want to enable families really learning together and bringing that culture of learning into your family and into your home. We are a great fit for families who travel. We're very flexible. We do post assignment dates on our Schoology, but they are flexible. So we aren't checking off assignments every single day. As long as we have all of the assignments completed within the 6 week unit, then we're fine. So if you have a week that is just crazy and you're off doing all kinds of adventures, that's fine. You can catch up the next week or you can work ahead if you know that's coming up. So we're really flexible about that. So we have students who have competition schedules where they have really crazy weeks, and then so they'll do a lot of schoolwork one week and then they'll take a week where they have their traveling competitions and not have to worry about it. So that kind of leads us into we have several competitive athletes and young performers, and we are a good fit for them. We are a good fit for kids who need to build that love of learning and confidence back up. We've had kids come to us from having negative experiences with learning and have been able to fall in love with learning again, or who have built up their confidence again. And we also have some families who, with the kids or the parents or even grandparents, who have health concerns that make it risky for the student to be in a 5 day a week in person public school setting. Also, our flexibility speaks to this. So, if your child has a medical condition where they may have a day that they're just really tired or they're getting treatment and they just cannot focus on class that day, they can't focus on learning, that's okay. They can catch up later. They can make an appointment with their teacher later if they have questions. Again, very flexible. We're not looking at day to day to day. We're looking at a bigger picture. So, if they need that day to take care of themselves, then we want them to have that. This is my um, personal information. This is my direct phone number. Feel free to call me or text me. Feel free to email me. I'd be happy to schedule a Zoom appointment with parents and their students to answer any questions that you have. I want you to know if this is the right fit for you and your family so that you can have a really positive learning experience. Thanks.